Welcome back to Out and About Today. Our next guest has designed a range of galas around town, from the HRC Gala Dinner to the Swan Ball. Amos Gott can put together an amazing experience and is here to guide us through the wedding process. Welcome back to the show.
Great, thanks.
So before we get into all the do's and don'ts or navigating through planning, what is your role or a wedding planner's role in the process?
I kind of look at it as that general contractor, the project manager, someone who's making sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. It's not to say that someone can't plan an event, but how many times do you plan an event where you're also the guest of honor?
Right.
So it's allowing the bride and groom, or bride and groom, to step back and enjoy the process as well, having no idea how many little things really go into a wedding.
So if I've decided, hypothetically, that I want to do a wedding, where do I start? I mean, and I have another person.
Right, that's number one.
Where do I start? Does it always start with money when we sit down and talk about it?
You know, it does and it doesn't. You do have to have a grasp of what you want to spend. At the same time, it's not uncommon for a client to say, I'll tell you when we're there once we do get into the budget process. I actually came from here looking at venues with a new client, and they don't have the grasp yet. I kind of have an idea of what they think they might spend, but she wants to know what things cost to begin with.
Right, what can you get? Like,
right,
yeah.
But that still starts with money. It's money either way.
Right.
But it's always best to have an idea of what you want to spend, because 9 times out of 10, clients go over budget, not by my fault, but because they want to add this and change that and upgrade this, instead of realizing that we should have done that in advance.
Right. So when you think about traditional marriage, and then you talk about gay marriage, I know it's just marriage, or who pays for what in this scenario? Well,
I think like with any couple these days, you know, the traditional certainly was that the bride's family paid, and the groom's family pays for certain things like the bride's bouquet and some, you know, the groom's cakes and things like that. But that's not even standard by today's rules. It's really everyone's situation. I've got another wedding where the groom's family is not only hosting it at their home, but they're paying for it. That's just how they agreed to it, irrelevant of what the financial situation of the bride's family is. That's what they wanted to do. So in our case, I do feel that it's different in that couples are typically a little older. We've been waiting for this.
That's
so
right.
you have them 30 up to 80, and therefore they're probably putting more on themselves. Frankly, there are straight couples putting it on themselves at that age. They don't want to put their elderly parents in situations. So then you have to decide what you're going to contribute. And then if the parents want to contribute, or if that's an understanding you've had with them before, then you divide it up that way. But every situation is unique.
Do you see the gays using wedding parties?
Like attendance, like
no,
wedding
like
attendance.
What is it called? Where I have bridesmaids and
bridal
attendance.
Party, wedding attendance. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I do think that I see a trend of smaller parties, if not no party at all. I think part of that was when we were having to travel, based on where they had to go. Less people could go, or they wanted to have a few people watching because they only had a few people with them. But there's no reason you can't have 10 bridesmaids and groomsmen, like a 22-year-old, but there's no reason you have to have but one or none.
What do you see in terms of the processional? What are you seeing happen?
Well, of course, there is that question of, is someone already at the altar and someone else coming down the aisle? Yes, you can still do that. You have to have a common understanding of who it's going to be.
Right.
But there's absolutely no reason that you can't both come from the back, from different sides, come down the aisle together, or if it's a venue where you put in chairs, where you put in 2 aisles.
And are stores already ready for the same-sex registry? Is that?
I think they've been ready.
Yeah,
you know, there are stores like Target and others who have had same-sex registries for a while, and I don't even know that others even ask necessarily bride or groom. There's very few places I find that are going to throw you out, at least in this area. I know this just seems like a Bible buckle area, but Nashville's been very progressive for a while.
Right. What is your approach? Because you're guiding your clients. What's your approach on vendors and them being inclusive to our community?
Sure. You know, just like my website doesn't say GLBT weddings, it's just weddings.
Right.
I don't expect my vendors to say that either. What I do expect is the respect of their service.
Right.
And all of the vendors that I use have always respected that. Several have given to the HRC dinner auction and other things that I've known they were inclusive before they needed to be from a marriage standpoint. So do they need to commercialize it? No, because I don't think that they have to. But I do think I would want to give my money to someone who supports me.
Absolutely.
And I honestly don't know of anyone in this town who doesn't.
Right. So we're going to be almost out of time, as we always are.
Sure.
What are leave us with a couple wedding trends that are happening for gays getting married?
I think the first thing to remember is, just like you alluded to a moment ago, it's not gay marriage, it's marriage.
Right.
Likewise, that doesn't mean that there's gay trends or
Right.
gay weddings, because it's all the same. So I think personalizing it to who you are, if that means a small event, a large event, lavish, country, whatever, it should still be about who you are. I always joke that events like Swan Ball, they don't have swans. Well, we don't have to have rainbow cakes at our weddings
Right,
either.
right.
We're gay and getting married. We're
Right.
not. We don't have to have a rainbow flag. If you want one, great.
Right.
But don't think that you have to fit in a certain peg, because it's just a wedding and it's a
Right.
piece of who you are. And you should look at it 20 years from now and say, I wouldn't change a thing. That's exactly how I wanted it.
Well, thank you, Amos. Amos Events.
Thank you.
Where's your website?
AmosEvents.com.
There you go.
Yeah,
AmosEvents.com. Well, thank you, and I'm sure you'll be back.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Don't go away. When we come back, Chuck is here with a preview of the Nashville Reps' upcoming season. Stay with us.